Understanding more about the Mandela Effect is important because we make choices based on the context in which we find ourselves. And if our understanding of the reality around us is wrong, then we might not be making the most appropriate choices. I would rather have the truth, know the truth, find out the truth, so that I can make the best choices for me in relation to that, rather than be in the dark and then I'm making choices that don't map onto anything real. Also, I think that we deserve the right to try to figure out the meaning and the purpose of our lives for ourselves. And to do that, we need to know whether we live on an random ball hanging in indifferent space, or if we live on a flat earth that's been created, designed, or if it's all a simulation. And so it's not about saying my memories are the real ones, and no, actually it is. It's not about saying my reality is the real one, was the real one, and the correct one, and this one is the fake one, and the people that remember things as they are here are somehow the fake people. It's just about keeping track of the changes. We could work on that. The Mandela Effect is this phenomenon where large groups of people have an internal representation of reality that is consistent within each group, though it varies among the different groups, that is suddenly different from the external experienced reality that we share. That is not very clear, so I'm going to try that again. Basically, people have memories, and elaborate memories, associative memories, and not soft notions, but clear, vivid knowledge of events that suddenly no longer match the reality that they find themselves in. For example, the Berenstain Bears. A lot of us grew up reading the Berenstain Bears books, and we remember struggling over, is it pronounced Berenstain or Berenstain? And there are some people that have joke drawings and pictures of the Berenstain Bears with steins of beer. And none of that makes sense anymore, because suddenly we live in a world where it's the Berenstain Bears, and always has been. The reality that we live in today, it has always been the Berenstain Bears, and the authors are the Berenstains, and that's their family name. They were never the Berenstain with the EI, and the books were never the Berenstain with the EI. So if you remember, these bells are going to drive me crazy. I'm going to have to take them off at some point in the video. If you remember the Berenstain Bear books, and if you had the books, and maybe they're in a box in your mother or father's basement or their attic, or the yard sale where your mother is selling your childhood piecemeal for $0.25, then you might want to go and open the boxes and find the books. And what you'll find is they have changed. The books that you know, 100% clear and confident that you know say the Berenstain Bears, EIN, you will find that now they say the Berenstain Bears, AIN. I know for some people this is going to be a little bit shocking, a little bit, you might find yourself a little bit incredulous. Check the books. They've changed. Go to your library and find older copies of the books. They say Berenstain. So for a lot of people, this is just overwhelming, and people have come together to discuss this, and they've discovered that there are other, I have to take the bells off. They're just going to drive you crazy. Me as well, but probably you. Because I like the sound of bells, but they might just, that might annoy you. No more bells, just these. This okay though, because I don't move my head too much. More my hands. So people came together to discuss the Berenstain Bears changing, and they discovered that there are other discrepancies between the reality as they understand it to be and the reality that actually is. And it's shocking, and what makes it interesting and compelling is that people remember it to be the same way within different groups of people, but then different groups of people remember it. Oh, this is complicated to explain. So some people remember, let's say, M and J, but not T. And then some people remember M and T, but not J. And then some people remember not J and not T, but M. So there are all these different groups, but at the same time, the people that remember T all remember the same T. It's not like people are remembering, the Bobbyston Bears. People remember the Bernstein or Berenstain Bears. And now it's the Berenstain Bears. What happened to the Tiananmen Square guy? The Tiananmen Square guy was run over by the tank during the student protests for democracy in China. And there was an article written in maybe the Globe and Mail. The journalist was talking about how they witnessed this scene from the hotel window, and how it was just this moment where everything changed because they realized that things in China were different from things in North America. No. Apparently now, the Tiananmen Square guy did not get run over by the tanks. He was pushed to safety by a friend, and then he disappeared and was never heard from again. When we were little and we went to see Snow White in the theater, or if you watched it on the DVD, do you remember what the witch says to the mirror? Does she say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" Magic mirror on the wall. No, it doesn't make sense. There are possible explanations, and we'll get to that later. But first, let's talk about more of the changes. Jif or Jiffy? Jif. I remember seeing Jif peanut butter in the store and thinking that is such a poor marketing rebranding. It wasn't rebranding. That was just, things shifted. It all changed. The Volvo logo was with the circle and the Volvo. It's the male symbol. What? Procter & Gamble, all the products. If you go into your shower right now and you look at your lotions and your cleansers and your things for all the things, then if you look in the back, it's Procter & Gamble, except Procter is spelled Proctor. No, Procter. That doesn't make sense, because then that's a person who monitors this Proctor. California Dreaming. And then he goes into the church, it's cold outside, and then he gets down on his knees, and what does he do? Does he begin to pray, or does he pretend to pray? I began to pray. No. I pretend to pray. What? I sometimes think some of these changes are giving us little clues, just little itty bitty clues about what's really going on, because that's a weird lyric to change from I began to pray to I pretend to pray. Little nefarious changes happening. The reason it's called the Mandela Effect is because some people remember Mandela dying in prison in the 80s, and this big televised funeral, some of the world leaders attended the funeral, and then all of a sudden they hear that this Mandela's out of prison, and then he's president of Africa, of the African of the countries, and then he's president, and they remembered him dying, and that's why it's called the Mandela Effect. And everyone thought that they had gone crazy and were too afraid to talk to other people about it. And then some people were very brave and they went on the internet and they said, does anyone remember Mandela dying in prison in the 80s? And all these other people remembered Mandela dying in prison in the 80s. And from there, people started sharing other discrepancies, and we started figuring out what are the discrepancies we have in common. Allergies. It's just, or maybe I'm sick. I'm a little sick. Since when is Mongolia a country? Because Mongolia is a country now, here. And it's been a country since 1821, when it declared independence. Because that makes sense. Do you remember that scene in Jurassic Park where the Triceratops is all sick and then the woman scientist comes and she finds that this particular Triceratops was eating this plant that was making it sick, and she started ranting because the plant wasn't from the same era as the Triceratops. That's why the Triceratops got sick. She was telling them that they were irresponsible and that the fact that they didn't know that you can't plant these plants from this era with the Triceratops from this other era and expect that it's all just going to work out, that shows that you're playing with things that you're not sufficiently educated about, and so you're making mistakes that cause damage. And that's because you're arrogant and you're thinking, I am just going to do this fun part. In this reality that we are in, that scene just cuts the Triceratops is sick, what a mystery. And then she just touches the things and then doesn't figure it out. And then they cut to the next scene. Maybe I could think that I had dreamt it, except that other people also remember that scene. They remember the same details as I do. And it wasn't a deleted scene, it wasn't a cut scene. It never existed that way. Just, we have to keep an eye on the scientists. Sometimes the scientists do things, it's no good. No. What is the capital of Turkey? Constantinople? No. Istanbul. I think it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. It's Istanbul, not Constantinople. It's not Istanbul either. It's Ankara. What? Where did Ankara come from? Who? What? What? I've never... Ankara? No. Who was the illustrator for the Peanuts cartoon? It was Charles Schulz. No T. Okay. Skechers. Shoes. Skechers shoes. They also took out the T, and so now we have Skechers shoes, but we still call them Skechers. Even though it looks like Skechers, and it used to be Skechers with a T, and then they just took the T out, but then here now, the T never was in the word, the Skechers. It was always Skechers. What color is chartreuse? Is it kind of close to puce, kind of a pinky reddish magenta? Or is it kind of a lime green? Just, lime green like absinthe. I would like to taste some absinthe. No, this is probably not safe. Life cereal, do you remember that ad? Or no, do your parents remember the Life cereal ad? Just whether, give it to Mikey will eat anything, and then Mikey eats it, and then he likes it. That's not how it goes. You should be telling your parents that it's, it's actually, Mikey hates everything. So give it to Mikey. Which actually doesn't make any, if Mikey hates everything, then why would you have him try the cereal? He's going to hate it. And then, oh, surprise, he likes it. But then that doesn't actually, the reason for giving that to Mikey doesn't make, in the original, in the other reality, where I come from, the internal representation of reality that I have that made more sense because Mikey will eat anything. So let's have him taste it, and then he can let us know if it's good cereal or bad cereal, because regardless, he'll try it. Whereas we don't want to try because we don't know, and then Mikey tries it because Mikey will eat anything and he likes it. And then that makes sense. But now that just never existed, and instead it's give it to Mikey. He'll try it. He hates everything, and then Mikey eats it, and then they're surprised he likes it. It ruined it. Now it doesn't make any sense, and then the whole universe doesn't make any sense. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.